This is Michael Popok, Legal AF After Dark Time. We're talking about Georgia on the most recent episode. What's going on with the new appeal filed by Donald Trump and others to the intermediary court of Georgia, not the highest court, to try to get Judge McAfee's decision to keep Fani Willis on the case, not disqualify her, overturned or reversed. Will it be successful? Why did they do it? Did we know this was coming? We tell you all of that. One place, MeidasTouch Network, Legal AF. Take a listen to our most recent episode. Touch briefly on the filing in Georgia at the Georgia Court of Appeals, the first stop at the appellate train. It's the intermediary appellate division. We expected it 2 months ago when Judge McAfee denied the motion to disqualify Fani Willis. He anticipated and actually invited. You guys want to take an appeal? You want to try an interlocutory appeal? I won't stand in your way. Go at an interlocutory appeal, meaning an appeal before the end of the case. At this, while we're in full steam here, full stream of the case, you have to get permission to do that. Usually it's trial judge certification, not sure about in Georgia, and then Court of Appeals to ask them to, because you don't have as of right for an interlocutory appeal, you have to ask permission. And but the judge made it clear, although it's a little bit loose language, what you and I will talk about, 2 months ago when he said, sure, you want to go for the appeal? Great, but I'm not staying the case. And I'm going to continue to do the things that aren't related to this issue, like the motions in limit, the motions to dismiss, and keep this kind of train rolling, although there's no trial date set, back to another judge who seems to have an allergy to setting trial dates. But I think you and I went back and forth in some text messaging earlier. You have an opinion about what you think Trump's going to do next, and then tell our audience that. And then what do you think McAfee does with the case about setting it for trial? And lastly, my third question to you is, what is Fani waiting for in terms of asking for a trial setting?
This whole thing is just so perplexing to me. I just don't understand so if they rule that she is somehow disqualified from handling this case, is that going to mean every time there's an office romance in two prosecutors have a relationship that somehow that makes the person disqualified? I mean, there's no evidence that came out at the hearing that showed that there was any impermissible or financial entanglement that was disqualifying here. And so I just don't understand what the rule could be. Just, the appearance of impropriety. So any defendant can basically create this cloud of suspicion, not prove it at a hearing, and then because of what the defendant has raised, that means that the entire office is recused from the case. I don't know. I just don't understand this whole thing. I don't get Georgia, and I don't see it the way they see it. I watched every minute of those hearings, and the defense absolutely did not show any kind of disqualification that could have led to taking Fani Willis off the case. I was surprised, frankly, that the judge said, okay, you can stay on the case if Nathan Wade leaves. I just don't get it. Whatever. But to me, this whole thing just seemed very strange. And they didn't ask a lot of talking about impermissibly salacious details. I mean, the fact that we know that Nathan Wade has, issues in that situation because he has prostate issues, like, I don't want to know that. What does that have to do with being disqualified? But yet that's the kind of stuff that they talked about on the hearing. Not, why didn't they talk about, the financial arrangement? That's the only thing that could potentially be disqualifying, but they barely touched on it. It was all like an episode of Real Housewives, but somehow that's appropriate. But it's interesting because as we were watching the hearing, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of Southern men in particular really were appalled. And it just seems strange to me because I'm like, I don't know, the whole thing. So I can't possibly even predict what they'll do in Georgia, but yes, it's
ask for a trial setting, Fani. Good news is she's steamrolling her way to re-election, because I think that community, rightly so, has rallied around her, and she's going to win re-election there in November 5th. She's down ballot from our president, and Scott McAfee The judge is on the ballot too. Talk about weird coincidences. Everybody runs here. There's law and politics at the intersection. But we're trying to follow all these things. We got developments in the Jan 6th. Yes, there are still Jan 6 defendants that are being sentenced. We report on that. Reproductive rights, women's rights, civil rights, constitutional rights. We're not the all Trump channel all the time. Sometimes that's a criticism of ours that I don't think is appropriate. We're not going to bury the lead. We've got a former president on trial, as Karen laid out earlier, like a run-of-the-mill garden variety criminal defendant in our shabbiest courthouse in New York. And now that we're in the third week, office workers in the neighborhood aren't even looking up from their lunch as to this trial. There's so few people down there. I was walking by today, I was walking by Trump Tower where Trump lives when he's on trial. There's nobody there because it's a city that never sleeps, and it's a city that doesn't give really a rat's ass about you, and puts everybody in their place, including Donald Trump, the incredible shrinking man, along with, no pun intended, based on some of the reporting about his body parts, incredible shrinking man, shrinking before our very eyes, into this little thing. It reminds me of the scene in Beetlejuice, when Beetlejuice is trying to get to the front of the line, and he's sitting next to the African head shrinker, and his little head gets shrunk. It's like, that's Trump. And Blanche right next to him. I mean, I said on a hot take recently that he has these down days, these dark days when he tries to, I don't know, raise money, connect with people, like running off and going to the fire department in New York and getting their name wrong in New York, and calling them the NYFD instead of the FDNY is a problem. Going to a bodega to do another political stunt, and then where are the crowds? I mean, he's got all these controlled environment events. Like he's selling NFTs that include a piece of his suit, like literally a suit off his back. He's selling it for money along with sneakers and Bibles and all these other undignified ways of running for office that his supporters probably seem to be okay with. But where are the crowds? Where are the arenas filled with his supporters chanting his name? I mean, you always see it always looks like the same 7 or 8 wackos that are, with covered head to toe with red Trump paraphernalia, regalia. But where are the people? I get the polls. The pollsters make a living, right? It's the old joke about there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And I throw polling into that last one. But where are the people? Joe Biden, our president, is out there making his closing argument to people and meeting people. And that, for me, is more valuable than what we're watching Donald Trump do in front of a bicycle rack every day at some appointed hour, some phony press conference, which is really just him unilaterally speaking and doing whatever he's doing. And I just, we've said, I have a lot of faith in our jury system. I have a lot of faith in our electorate to do the right thing at the end of the day. And we have to report on it. It's not that we get a special delight, although I do, to report on Donald Trump as much as we do. And when other things matter, Arizona Attorney General bringing their charges, Michigan, Nevada, anything related to abortion rights or women's rights or reproductive rights, we report on it too. And we use our various contributors to kind of fill in the gap, to kind of give you a good, healthy, well-balanced legal and political analysis that we think we do in a special way, only our way, here on the Legal AF podcast. And on Wednesdays, except when one of us is traveling or tied up with something else, it's Karen, Friedman, Agnifilo, and me. Well, welcome back. We do that show twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then you can pick it up right here on this YouTube channel. And then you can pick it up on audio podcast platforms of your choice. Lawyers talking about things at the intersection of law and politics that they know what they're talking about. That's what we bring you here on Legal AF. If you know about Legal AF, or maybe you just missed the most recent episode, we appreciate you. There's a clip. If you want to send that off to friends and family and people in your life and invite them to join our show, we'd appreciate it. We don't have a marketing department. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I invite you to join us. That was sort of a teaser, an appetizer, a gateway until Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. where you'll find our full-length podcast there. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.